Today we're going to be breaking down our Mage Maniacs comp, covering all the units, items, synergies and augments you need to know to take home first place. This comp uses a mage heavy board with the two 3-costs Veigar and Vex as your main carries, who you want to 3-star throughout your mid and late game. This comp is pretty straightforward and spikes really hard, but you might struggle to get that top 4 spot if you are being contested. The full comp uses Veigar, Vex, Nami, Galio, Nora, Xerath, Tahm Kench and Zilean. Now since 5 mages is what this comp revolves around, you don't really have too much flexibility when it comes to replacement options. An easier version to play will be by adding Eldritch with Syndra and Mordekaiser whilst dropping your higher cost Arcana units Xerath and Tahm Kench. You can also play Soraka over Nora in case you spend too much gold rerolling for Veigar and Vex, or if you just simply cannot find her, but it definitely will be a weaker option. Alternatively, if you hit Galio's hero carry augment, you could also pivot into our Deja Vu comp, which we can recommend you automatically with our in-game overlay if you select the augment. So make sure you download this and bring it with you into your next game. Well, let's have a look at some items then, and for our main carries, we have the 2 mage Yordles, Vex and Veigar. Veigar will be your main source of damage in this comp as an AP carry in the backline. But before we jump into itemizing him, you should know that his ability scales with the amount of charms you purchase, which is why you want to buy every charm you see. This also applies right from the early game when you don't even have a copy of Veigar yet, as the charm counter will already start from the very first charm you see. So all those charms that cost no gold or 1 gold early game, make sure you snag them. A similar buff also applies to Xerath, as he'll grant your team true damage the more charms you have. So when you pick him up in the late game and you've got tons of charms from stacking up your Veigar, you're going to deal a lot of damage. For items on your Veigar, we'd recommend a blue buff, Nashor's Tooth and a jeweled gauntlet. If you can't find 2 tiers, you can also just build a Spear of Shojin for Veigar's source of mana generation, and then other strong AP items like Rabbanon's Death Cap or Archangel's Staff. Then we have the other 3-cost mage Vex, who's going to serve as your main tank in the front. Her ability shield scales with the number of enemy units attacking her, which is why you always want to try and have her solo in the front line. This also means her best in-slot item is definitely going to be Gargoyle's Stoneplate for the increased resistance stacks, followed by Warmog's and Dragon's Claw. But you can also not really go too far wrong with other tank items like Bramble Vest, Redemption or Ionic Spark for the shreds. Then for our secondary carries, we have the 4-cost mage Nami, who can deal a lot of damage once 2-star. And for her, unlike Veigar, you just want to give her some utility AP items like Shiv and Morellos. If you have any leftover tank items, you'll have 2 Vanguards who are perfectly built for this. So send everything to Galio if he's uncontested, and if you can 3-star him during your slow roll for the other 2 3-cost carries. If not, just load up Tahm Kench instead. And don't forget, if you don't have a Morellos on your Nami, try and get a Sunfire Cape on your secondary frontliner. When it comes to spatulas, you could possibly use a Portal Emblem, but because it does use up a needlessly large rod, we don't really want to waste it on an emblem. Generally, the best emblem you can get in this comp is a non-buildable one, which is of course the mage one, but you're only going to get this one from Augments. And speaking of Augments, that mage crest or crown is definitely going to be S tier, because it allows you to drop Zilean and play Soraka to activate 7 mages at level 8, whilst turning Xerath into your new mage carry. Another instant click is the mage specific augment Practice Partners. This one helps your mage cast their abilities more often by sharing mana with nearby allies when they cast themselves, making this comp truly go manic. Then you also have Pandora's Bench, which is a really good way to 3-star your 3-cost carries, or even find your specific 5-cost units in the late game, Xerath and Nora. Any form of Blossoming Lotus is also S tier since it benefits your entire team, and you can also focus on more raw damage items for your backline carries. A tier options include reroll augments like Prismatic Ticket or Heroic Grab Bags, combat augments like Spellblades, additional scaling augments like Learning to Spell, or any item augments like Magic Wand. Your best chance to win when you're playing this comp is by having 2 main conditions met. First, you want to have your 3-cost carries 3-starred with the right items on Veigar and Vex, ideally hitting these without wasting all of your gold to get there. The second main condition is getting your 5 costs online and 2-starred as well, as Xerath and Nora will add a bunch of extra utility and damage with their Arcana and Explorer traits. Having that Xerath means you'll also have a chance of seeing Ascendant charms, which are really strong on their own but will also benefit Veigar, as not only will he get the extra AP with every charm you purchase, but if you select Xerath as your high Arcana, as we mentioned earlier, your team will also deal extra true damage for every charm you purchased, making this charm collection minigame a never-ending AP stack adventure for Veigar. Finally, one additional win condition is by getting your hands on a mage emblem, because hitting 7 mages is just a bit OP. Now this comp is a slow roll leveling comp, which means you'll get most of your team online at stage 3 and 4 during level 7, where you'll be slow rolling to 3-star your Veigar and Vex. The best opener in this comp is by activating 3 mages early on with Soraka, Seraphine and Galio, and then just get a second Vanguard for your frontline like Blitzcrank or Warwick. Seraphine can serve as your item holder for Veigar, and Blitzcrank can hold items for Vex. A starter like this should easily get you on a win streak, but if you need to, you can also go for a lose streak instead. Aim to hit level 6 at around stage 3-2 and add in Veigar and Vex with the right items. You can definitely roll a little bit here to find these and break your lose streak if you have been on one already, and then you can pick up units like Nunu and Zillion. Playing 3 Honeymancy on level 6 will add a bit more damage for Veigar, and also adding Zillion will activate Clockwork for Vex as well. But more importantly, continue slamming carry items on your carries and don't roll too aggressively, as your main goal is to hit level 7 with a decent economy. Level up to 7 when you can around the end of stage 3 and start your reroll strategy to get Veigar and Vex 3-starred as quickly as possible. If you are being contested here by other mage players or Honeymancer players, you will need to roll pretty aggressively to make sure you hit those carries before anyone else does. But if not, just roll above 50 gold to keep your economy strong, and then look to push high levels. Because when you bring in Nami and activate 5 mages, it'll make your team hit seriously hard. Level up to 8 once you have successfully 3-starred your Veigar and Vex. And now it's time to add in your high cost, high value units Tahm Kench, Xerath and Nora. Having Arcana makes you want to choose Xerath as your high Arcana for the extra damage on Veigar, and bind Yuumi with Vex to make her stall the fights for longer for your Veigar to do the pumping. Let's finish off with the positioning then, and as we mentioned earlier, Vex is your core tank and you want her to be your solo frontliner here. You'll also want to attach Yuumi to Vex to help her survive longer. Then it's pretty simple because we'll have the rest of the team surrounding the backline hexes. Veigar will take one of the backline corners whilst Nora takes the other. Have Nami and Zillion next to Veigar so they can both stun enemy units and help Veigar blow up enemy carries more comfortably. Xerath will sit around the centre of the backline, and your secondary tanks Galio and Tahm Kench will be right in front of him to join the front line a little bit later, so Vex can draw all the aggro onto her. And that will give you everything you need to know on how to win with our Mage Maniacs comp. Don't forget that we'll be uploading these in-depth S-tier expert video guides for all the strongest comps each and every patch on our website. So head to mobalytics.gg to check those out for yourself, and if you want to, download our desktop app where you can follow these step-by-step guides in-game with our overlay. Good luck guys, and have fun.